Cristiano Ronaldo recently made his views very clear on the integrity of the Ballon d'Or awards. He made his case on why Vinicius Jr. deserved to win it ahead of Rodri and how unfair the process was. He went on to claim that the Globe Soccer Awards were more honest than the Ballon d'Or. At this point, even Bellingham couldn't keep a straight face any longer in the audience. But does Ronaldo have a point? Rodri was obviously surprised to hear this coming from someone who had won the award 5 times in the past. But these claims aren't exactly new, and we are all aware of the debate it sparks almost every single year. This got us thinking about Ronaldo's statement and how controversial some of the past winners have been deemed. We analysed every single Ballon d'Or winner of this century and the corresponding public outrage it caused. And after much deliberation, it was concluded that the most controversial Ballon d'Or decision of the century happened over 2 decades ago. This was when Thierry Henry put up all-timer numbers with Arsenal in the 2002-03 season, but was snubbed at the end. In 2003, the Ballon d'Or was awarded to Pavel Nedved over Henry, causing a widespread controversy that remains unresolved to this day. It was the classic debate of individual performance versus team achievements. What was more important? Henry had an extraordinary individual season with Arsenal, racking up a phenomenal goal tally. Meanwhile, Nedved had a more subtle influence on the goal-scoring front, but contributed it to his team's massive trophy haul. Today, we're going to take a look back at that season and re-evaluate the narrative. Was Nedved's season with Juventus in 2002-03 overrated? Did Henry deserve to win the award with just an FA Cup to show? These are the questions we will answer for you and try to end this debate once and for all. Before we start comparing their seasons and contributions though, another important factor needs to be discussed first. What are the official criteria for determining a Ballon d'Or winner? The age-old Ballon d'Or question is what ultimately matters more, team success or individual achievements? The answer is that it's not so black and white. Officially, UEFA stipulates 3 major criteria for ranking the players. The first is individual performances, along with how decisive their role has been across the campaign. The second is the team's performances and achievements in domestic as well as the continental trophies. This is where it gets a bit shady because UEFA has been known to give their European competitions more weightage when considering player rankings. The third criterion is class and fair play. This was a big point of discussion last year, as many people claimed that Vinicius would have won if he had better sportsmanship on the pitch. If you're often disappointed by who wins this award and you believe another player deserved it more because of better footballing ability, you need to take a step back. Because contrary to popular belief, the Ballon d'Or isn't just given to the best football player of the year. It's more nuanced than that, because each year the voters can judge with different perspectives. The reputation of a player in the industry and his public image also become factors, even if they aren't as significant. But these metrics start to matter when the competition is too close to call between 2 players, which is why the reputation of the player and the club does matter. Now let's consider the Henry and Nedved debate from back in 2003. An important factor to keep in mind is where they were playing at the time. 2 European leagues were clearly at the top in terms of reputation and quality in the early 2000s, La Liga and Serie A. The English Premier League came a distinct third back then. Nedved was the heartbeat in the midfield for Juventus and provided much more than just goals and assists on the field. Over the course of the 2002-03 season, he scored 14 goals and supplied 11 assists across all competitions. During the same period, Henry scored a whopping 32 goals for Arsenal and supplied 23 assists. Numbers aside, his performances were a cut above the rest in the league. No one could stop Henry from gliding across the pitch effortlessly and placing it into the back of the net as many times as he wanted. His 37 Premier League appearances came with 24 goals and 20 assists, an unprecedented feat that hasn't been replicated in the Premier League since. He was involved in more than half of the total goals Arsenal scored in the league that season. But statistics can only take you so far, especially if the closest contender plays in another position. Nedved didn't have even half of Henry's goal output, but he had something else. Since it was a non-international tournament year, the most prestigious club trophy available to win was the Champions League. that's where Nedved fared better than his French counterpart. To gain additional context, we'll understand how both players were deployed in the setup and their overall impact on the team. Nedved was often referred to as the Czech Fury. He was the engine of Juventus during the early 2000s. Signed in 2001 as a replacement for Zinedine Zidane, the newcomer was tasked with filling a massive void left by one of the greatest ever midfielders. He quickly rose to the challenge, becoming a symbol of hard work, technical brilliance, and leadership. By the 2002-03 season, the midfielder had established himself as the heartbeat of the Juventus side. Operating in a box-to-box role, he was crucial in connecting defense to attack. He was a master at dictating the tempo and producing moments of magic with the ball. He played with tireless energy and had the ability to step up in crucial games, which made him indispensable. Even though he was not a prolific goalscorer because of his midfield role, Nedved's knack for scoring crucial goals and his commanding presence made him an undisputed leader at Juventus. In contrast, Henry was the face of Arsenal's golden era. After an underwhelming stint at Juventus in 1999, Henry was transformed by Arsene Wenger into a prolific forward and one of the most electrifying players of his generation. By 2002-03, Henry was not just Arsenal's main goalscorer, but also their creative hub, dropping deep to build up play while scoring absolutely stunning goals. Henry's presence was so significant that Arsenal's entire attacking system revolved around him. His speed, skill, and football intelligence terrorized defenses across England and Europe. More than just a finisher, Henry was Arsenal's talisman, embodying the flair and dominance that defined Wenger's philosophy. Both players were instrumental to their side for very different reasons and played different roles. It was a very similar situation to last year's, where Vinicius and Rodri had to be compared. A goal-scoring forward versus a holding midfielder. The Czech's performances were especially notable in the Champions League, where he contributed 5 goals. The most memorable Champions League moment for him came in the second leg of the semi-final against Real Madrid. He scored a critical goal in the 77th minute, which almost sealed their berth in the final. But just 10 minutes later, an unnecessary foul earned him a yellow card and he fell to the floor in agony. The caution meant he would be suspended for the final, which Juventus went on to lose against Milan. In the Serie A, Nedved helped the old lady secure the Scudetto, finishing 7 points ahead of Milan. His consistency in midfield, combined with his ability to deliver in clutch moments, defined Juventus' season. Although his stats were less glamorous than Henry's, his influence on games and leadership qualities were unmatched. Henry's 2002-03 season was extraordinary in its own right. He scored 32 goals and provided 23 assists in 55 appearances across all competitions. He didn't, however, win the Premier League's Golden Boot with 24 league goals, losing out to Ruud van Nistelrooy's 25 for United. But Henry's playmaking was no joke, and he was easily the best player in the league. The Frenchman's individual brilliance powered Arsenal to the FA Cup title and a second-place finish in the Premier League. They narrowly lost the league to Manchester United. In Europe, he grabbed the world's attention with stellar performances, like his solo goal against Inter in the group stages. But Arsenal's Champions League journey ended unexpectedly before they could even reach the knockout stages. While Henry's statistics were far superior in terms of goals and assists, Nedved's impact extended beyond numbers. His influence in key matches and role in Juventus' Champions League run were huge bonuses in his Ballon d'Or merit. The Champions League is often pivotal in Ballon d'Or decisions, and this was no different in 2003. Nedved was central to Juventus' European campaign, scoring a crucial away goal against Barcelona in the quarter-finals, and delivering a man-of-the-match performance against Real Madrid in the semi-finals. In contrast, Henry's Arsenal exited in the group stages, a significant factor that weakened his case for the Ballon d'Or. While Henry was brilliant domestically, the lack of a deep European run likely hurt his chances. Before the Ballon d'Or ceremony, many believed Thierry Henry was the favourite to win. His record-breaking season in England, coupled with his unmatched blend of goals and assists, captured headlines globally. Nedved was seen as a bit of a dark horse. While his stats were less eye-catching, his performance to Juventus and their success in Serie A and the Champions League earned him significant support, particularly in Europe. At the 2003 Ballon d'Or ceremony, Pavel Nedved eventually won with 190 points, ahead of Thierry Henry, who had 128, followed by Paolo Maldini with 123 points. Nedved's victory was celebrated as a win for midfielders and especially players who excelled in roles beyond just goal scoring. But the announcement sparked widespread debate. Many fans and pundits felt Henry's contributions had been overlooked. Even Nedved admitted after the ceremony that he believed Henry deserved the award, calling him the best forward in the world at the time. Despite the disappointment of losing in 2003, Henry responded with an even better season in 2003-04. He scored 39 goals in all competitions and led Arsenal to an invincible Premier League campaign. But the Ballon d'Or went to another Serie A representative, Andriy Shevchenko, whose individual performances for Milan and their Serie A triumph earned him the award. Henry's lack of any Champions League success again played a role in his omission. The 2003 Ballon d'Or decision remains a controversial topic. But does it really need to be? With hindsight, we believe Nedved winning over Henry was unexpected but completely fair. The decisive factor was their team's success, and that has always been an important aspect of the award. Ultimately, Nedved's Champions League run and importance to Juventus tipped the scales in his favour, highlighting how the Ballon d'Or often prioritises success on the biggest stages. Henry's inability to win the Ballon d'Or, even after the invincible season, highlights the subjective nature of the award. So when we consider Rodri's Ballon d'Or victory, in a period that had the Euros and Copa America as well, it's quite obvious why the Euro player of the tournament and Manchester City's key player deserved to win it over Vinicius, who couldn't do as much at the Copa America. At the end of the day, it's not just individual ability, but also the player's impact and influence on his team. Rodri versus Vinicius is the modern version of Nedved versus Henry. Are you convinced that both awards were fairly given, or do you still believe that Henry and Vinicius were robbed? Tell us your reasons below.